It wasn't that I actually decided or at any point had an ambition to be a filmmaker. It's just that it seemed to bring in a lot of things that I was interested in, and like writing, language, and it seemed to be an arena where you could explore who you were more. We had a sort of separate film department, so we were shown a lot of experimental film, and I mean, I was very influenced by Liz Rhodes' light reading and Martha Haslanger and Maya Deren, but I was also quite influenced by very quite structural filmmakers like Michael Snow or Peter Goodall, because I was interested in that idea of the meditation on the material, and that seemed to me quite a powerful space, really. I think that all films have a strong personal and biographical content. If you look at Richard Long, this notion of Englishness in the landscape, these are all very personal, very specific ideas of culture. But because they're perceived as being white, male and dominant, they're not necessarily perceived as being personal. So therefore, the question is always posed at me as a black woman or whatever, is my work personal? And I will answer yes. But that's the whole notion, the whole hierarchy of the notion of emotional subjectivity that is also positioned at women filmmakers or filmmakers who are outside of the dominant ideology. Well, I thought that I ought to stop at one point, so I did. And then I made a film, because I quite often, I write my own stories, and then it's very easy then to use your own voice because you understand the inflection that you want and how you want it to be said. But then, which actually goes back to the previous question, this notion of that my films were perceived as being very subjective. Not that they're not subjective, but I wanted to get away from this notion that they were autobiographical. So I then found someone else to do a voiceover for me. I've actually realised that actually a lot of what I do is to do with this own battle of how personal is it, and how much do you hide. So then I actually, in my last piece of work, A Story Told, I actually do a voiceover to camera, a direct address to camera. Our identity is constructed through language, so and I write anyway, so I have an interest in written text, and I suppose it's I use language as a foil to do with notions of what you understand, or what you think you can see, and what you don't you actually see, or what you actually feel. So whatever register of language is used, be it the written word or an image or sound, what happens in my films is that quite often they'll play against each other, so that they'll create ruptures or breaks that will sort of make you actually reflect on what you understood. So you then question yourself in relation to what you're looking at. The one that I explored, the notion of cultural difference, or the notion of language, or the specificity of how each individual will look at a film, is Fatima's letter, which really deals with notions of language and the voiceover. And the voiceover is in Urdu, and it's a female voiceover, so there's a constant... The subject of the film really is translation. What happens is that I've constructed about 7 different screens with which are all made out of one shot, and they're looped. And it is a story, it's a love story, which a lot of my work revolves around a notion of desire. You walk through the gallery, and as you walk through the gallery, different parts of the story will be revealed to you. Yeah, I'm interested in storytelling. All of my films revolve around some notion of story. That space of telling and listening and dreaming is that space that I'm really interested in, and it's something that you can't quite pinpoint. It's something that you're held in a moment, and I think that's what I was trying to explore in the gallery.